Wonderful. Well, I'm sure you're really looking forward to this. How much of a difference will it be in terms of your finances and your ability to operate for the rest of the year, Zoe?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's brilliant. To be honest, it's brilliant to put the soul back in the theatre. We've been open for a week now because we were allowed to open last Saturday. Visitors have come and look around, but we weren't allowed to put anything on the stage for them, which just felt absolutely ironic. So it's absolutely fabulous from that point of view. Clearly, financially, it's great. It's great that those pressures coming on. Lost all of the season, so it's not a motivation and a huge celebration. So actually, as far as I'm concerned, we will take the big leap this year. But it's just more about the fact that actually we can actually bring the theatre back to life and reawaken it, and it will be working as a theatre now. And hopefully it's not going to start raining for the rest of the summer.
I know. Is your name really Curnow, by the way, Zoe? I know. I used to go and live at North Chapel at North Curnow because I'm from Taunton. So when I saw your name, and I went, no, you must have changed that. But that is your name. This is Curnow.
Yeah, it is actually my name. It's not a stage name or anything. I'm a Cornish farmer's daughter. So.
That's great. Well, I mean, the only thing that made you more Cornish could be a tin miner's daughter. Now, Zoe, we wish you the very best of luck with this. I've got a horrible daughter who's involved in the world of theatre, and I walked up through the West End to arrive at the studios in the morning, and I think it is so profoundly depressing to see these places of beautiful entertainment and high spirit and love and enjoyment and just livelihood for these kids just completely taken away. I just can't wait for the next phase. I'm very happy for you, but I'm really on the next phase, which is that big West End show.
I completely agree. I mean, the whole economy and equality of theatre, yes, it's great to have multi-venues opening, but that's not, that's not feeding everybody literally. So we're looking at
effectively cancelled the jail term of a former advisor who lied to Congress. The weather sunny spells now, showers later for the Midlands and in the north, Scotland and Northern Ireland as well, a high of 22 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne, where the M4 is closed westbound between junctions 8, 9 at Maidenhead and 10 at Wokingham, and that's because of the weekend roadworks. It's scheduled to stay closed until the early hours of tomorrow morning. In Feltham, the High Street is closed both ways because of an accident, and in Brentford, the High Street also closed both ways. That's closed at North Road, also following an accident. In Ealing, Gunnersbury Lane tend to be closed in both directions at the North Circular Road. That's because of emergency repair works. In Wood Green, Westbury Avenue is closed in both directions because of an ongoing police investigation. And in Canary Wharf, Westbury Road is also closed in both directions.
This is LBC. Should your kids go back to school? Ask Andrea. She's a teacher.
We're doing everything we can to keep the children safe and happy at school, which is why it's great that more of those who can are coming back, not only for their education, but for their overall well-being too. It gives them a routine, helps develop their social skills, and they get to see their friends too.
If your child is eligible, they should return to school. The government is working towards getting all pupils back in September. Stay alert, control the virus, save lives.
It could be a family syndicate. It could be down to not stepping on cracks in the pavement. It could be somebody's birthday is their lucky numbers. It could be you. Don't miss tonight's Lotto Triple Whopper. Play online or on the app. Lotto from the National Lottery. Your numbers make amazing happen. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or older.
Formula One is back.
F1 is back on Sky.
cards on his back. He's fiercely loyal, but a loose cannon, very much devoted to, obviously, to Donald Trump. And he made it clear to the White House and to President Trump that he did not want to go into federal custody. And so the president just the other day sort of hinted that this might happen. We knew it was fait accompli. We didn't expect it all today, but why not? It was days before he was going to have to actually surrender and enter a federal lockup.
And what has the president said about this?
Well, he said that this was terribly unfair, how he was railroaded by federal investigators, by the FBI. It's interesting, though, William Barr, who's the Attorney General for the United States, a Trump appointee, who's been very loyal, was on the other side of this. He said, no, Roger Stone was convicted fairly. The prosecution and the case that was presented by the Department of Justice against him was fair and accurate, and that the judge acted fairly. So that was the one wrinkle in all this, was that the president didn't have the backing of his own attorney general. But as it turns out, it didn't matter.
Yeah, obviously, does it make any difference at this time of an election cycle, and with the election coming up in November? Is it going to shift anybody's political opinion about President Trump, Democrats, or any other facet of American politics that this has now happened? I suspect not.
No, you're right. It's not going to change a thing. Keep in mind, we've had almost now 3.5, 4 years of things like this routinely happening under this presidency, and it never changes. What we have seen, though, and the only thing that we've noticed, though, is with the pandemic and the COVID-19 crisis, it is impacting some of the regions of the country that backed President Trump in the last election, and his numbers are starting to fall with those voters, particularly older Americans, 65 and older, Americans, younger Americans who only had a high school education or without a college education. He won those groups by 22%. The first time polls have him down to about 5 to 10% of a margin. So he's losing support within his base. But no, other than that, this is small potatoes compared to what we've seen before. So yeah, Roger Stone's not going to change anybody's mind.
And nor will it change anybody's mind what his opposition say. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren saying it showed Donald Trump was the most corrupt president in history. You know, go back a few years, and if somebody had said that publicly, it'd be front page news. Now it's just like, water off a duck's back.
Right. Democrats have talked about how this was sort of like a mafia don. And in fact, this is the first time they've said that he acted like a crime boss. And there are parallels, I have to tell you. But you know, loyalty is a big deal, a big thing to Donald Trump. And there are other members, former members of the administration and his inner circle, I should say, who are doing hard time or are in prison. They have not seen their sentences reduced or commuted by the president because they fell out of favor. Roger Stone never fell out of favor.
Meantime, Roger Stone, who is 67 years of age, had been due to report to a federal prison in Jessup in Georgia next Tuesday. What was it? It was a 3-year sentence, wasn't it?
There's something to that effect, yeah. We didn't expect him to serve that entire length. But he had also said, I should point out, that he's in the target audience for COVID-19. He's not in the best of health, and he was afraid that he would get the virus while in custody, which is not out of the ordinary, because we've had problems in state and local jails and prisons. But that was one of the reasons why he asked for this.
Amazing, and yet another amazing American political story at this time. Thank you very much indeed for putting some meat on those bones for us. That's Conan Nolan, political correspondent for NBC in Los Angeles. Roger Stone, a 3-year sentence has been commuted, and it wasn't just for anything lying to Congress. It was obstruction and witness tampering. But he is not going to prison because President Trump has said, "You're okay. It's commuted." Amazing. Just coming up to 7:30, the question for this hour is about your lockdown. Really, is the time right for you to come out of your lockdown, or have you already done so? If you can't actually enforce any of these guidelines, laws, regulations, whatever they happen to be, what is the point of having them in the first place? I mean, when was the last time you went on public transport, for instance, and saw Johnson, the Prime Minister, has been seen in Uxbridge, his constituency, wearing a mask. Will you now wear one? Does that influence you? But there are inherent contradictions at this stage of the plan of coming out of our reaction to the pandemic, I suppose, and we just have to accept it. We can fly sitting right next door to each other. Nobody's paying any attention in the air whatsoever. We're being encouraged to fly, but nobody's paying any attention, from what I hear, in an aeroplane to social distancing. You've got bars that are opening. You can see the pictures. You saw the pictures from Soho. You can talk about the protests and the demonstrations. Is that okay? Buses, tubes, pavements are absolutely rammed. Not in central London, but just on the outer inner suburbs, if you like. They're just rammed. And yet, we're destroying great swathes of industry, including theatre. But we are lifting lockdown. Pleased about it? 034560600973. Our business with David Buick in just a second. EasyJet may be using sickness records to decide job cuts. How would you feel if the pilot of the aircraft you and your family were travelling on has come into work even though he feels ill because he is concerned that if he was to go ill, it could affect his job prospects? Exactly. The news with Bill Overton.
The Prime Minister said stricter rules on wearing face coverings may be necessary to help curb rising cases of coronavirus. They're already compulsory on public transport in England and Scotland. Outdoor swimming pools and theatre and music venues outside can reopen in England today. Visitor numbers, though, have to be limited. Donald Trump's commuted the prison term of Roger Stone, a long-term friend and former campaign advisor. He'd been due to start the 40-month sentence next week for crimes related to the Russia investigation. And the number of people wanting to become police officers in England and Wales peaked at the start of the pandemic. Weather today, sunny spells and showers later on for the Midlands, further north, Scotland and Northern Ireland. A warmer day for Wales and in the south with a high of 22 degrees.
The voices of LBC at the weekend. Majid Nawaz.
He is the opposite of everything Labour activists have been saying the world should like. As long as I believe Keir Starmer's not going to discriminate against me because of my shade, then I'm all right with him. He's not some black Jesus leading your party. He's a pale, male, stale knight of the realm, and yet he's still ahead in the polls against Boris Johnson.
Majid Nawaz. This afternoon from 12 on LBC.
As lockdown eases, the LBC Money Hour is here to help people who are looking to their financial future. Here's pension specialist Stuart Hopley.
We've been running our retirement report now for 16 years. It looks at how people are adequately saving, and we've always used 12% as a recommended level.
Listen to the whole interview at lbc.co.uk and join Clive Ball with LBC's Money Hour, Sundays at 8 p.m. Thanks to Scottish Widows, taking on your future together. LBC.
Coral has been there for some of sport's greatest comebacks, like the miracle of Istanbul.
He stepped up to take the penalty. The victory. They've got a remarkable comeback.
But if a comeback doesn't go your way, Coral has you covered. If your team leads at half-time but doesn't win, you'll get up to £50 as a free bet on all Premier League matches. Half-time winner from Coral.
18 plus online and mobile applies to first pre-match single on the match result market on selected matches with free bet paid on total returns to a max of £50. Full terms and exclusions at coral.co.uk. When the fun stops, stop.
The big Volkswagen event is now on. If you're after a new Volkswagen, we offer to pay your first 3 months finance payments and an additional £500 to £1,000 contribution to your deposit at 3.8% APR representative. Hello, sir. Do any take your fancy?
Well, yes, a new Golf or T-Cross. A Tiguan. No, Passat. Oh, I need to sit down.
Here, have a seat.
The big Volkswagen event. With every type of car on offer, you may have trouble choosing. With Solutions Personal Contract Plan until 12th of July excludes e-Golf at participating retailers only. Minimum 46 months to receive 3 months finance payments. Indemnities may be required. Volkswagen Finance. Contact your local retailer to book an appointment.
This is Hamilton, the original Broadway cast recording, featuring the smash hit Alexander Hamilton and My Shot. Experience the musical phenomenon that everybody's talking about. Hamilton, the soundtrack, out now.
How do we control coronavirus now? This is Scott. He's a nurse.
NHS Test and Trace helps stop the spread of the virus in our communities. If you've got symptoms, even mild ones, get a test immediately. Don't leave home for any other reason. If you test positive, we can trace the people you've been in contact with and contain the virus. So get tested and protect each other.
To get a test, go to nhs.uk/coronavirus or call 119. Stay alert. Control the virus. Save lives. Andrew Castle on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Well, there's still an awful lot that you can't do. Nightclubs don't know where they are yet. Bowling alleys, no idea. Indoor skating rinks, indoor play areas, conference centres is a big one as well. Huge revenue generation there. The live entertainment industry is still in real trouble and no dates set for stages 4 and 5 of the roadmap.